Saved from the Sea by Elizabeth West. A terrible year. The year 1854 was a bad year at sea. Killer storms raged along the eastern coast of the United States. The peaceful seas turned deadly very fast. Huge waves swamped ships. These storms caused many ships to crash. One unlucky ship was the Powhatan. Over 200 German men, women, and children were on the ship. All were looking forward to new lives in America. They had almost reached their new home when a wild storm hit the ship. The coasts along New Jersey and North and South Carolina were so dangerous that this stretch of water was called the Graveyard of the Atlantic. North Carolina shipwrecks. This map shows the dangerous ocean waters around North Carolina. This area is hit often by huge storms. Over the years, many ships have sunk here. Suddenly, snow, howling winds, and high waves attacked the ship. Waves tossed the ship around as if it were a child's toy. The captain was helpless to save his ship. Then the ship hit rocks. The rocks demolished the Powhatan, and it sank. Everyone on board died. Later that year, 2 other ships sank near the same place off the New Jersey coast. Then the fierce Carolina hurricane arrived in the fall. It hit the coast of the Carolinas. Ships sank, and more people died. Something had to be done, but how could people stop these shipwrecks? In the 1800s, ships were the main form of long-distance travel. Both people and goods sailed from place to place, but the ships faced many dangers at sea. Shipwrecks were one of the most deadly. There were life-saving stations along some coasts. However, these stations saved few lives. The workers were not well trained. Often the tools needed to save lives were broken or missing. As a result, people died at sea. Newspapers wrote stories calling for change. They said that the need for a good life-saving service was critical. Something had to be done. Help on the way. In 1871, the government asked a man named Sumner Kimball to solve the problem. He began by sending inspectors to look over every life-saving station. They were a mess. Buildings were in poor shape. Crews were not trained. Many lived far from shore. Tools were rusted or missing. Kimball came to the realization that a new way had to be found. So he studied what other nations had done. He learned from them. He presented a plan to Congress. Now Congress needed to act. They secured or found more money to pay for people, tools, and training. Sumner Increase Kimball later became the head of the U.S. Life-Saving Service in 1878, an office he held for 37 years. This is a life-saving station at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. In the next few years, the life-saving service changed. New stations and new boats were built. Stations now covered much of the East Coast. Soon stations were also built on the Great Lakes and on the Gulf of Mexico and West Coast. More people were hired and trained. These elite crews learned how to rescue people from boats and from the water. They learned to bundle up cold swimmers and keep them alive. As a result of these efforts, more people were saved. In 1878, all the stations became part of the U.S. Life-Saving Service. Lifesavers at work. The keeper and crew of a life-saving station worked hard. Many days they had drills, a type of practice. Drills could be an annoyance, but they taught the crew how to save lives. The drills helped crews work faster and better. For example, crews had big boats called surf boats. Crews had to get these boats into the water quickly. Speed could save someone from drowning. Crews learned to work the surf boats. At dawn, crews practiced moving the surf boats along the shore. The boats were on carts. The crew would move a boat to a place near a wreck. Then the crew would shove the boat into the water as fast as they could. Crews practiced these actions over and over. At the end of the day, the crews were dirty and tired, but they had learned to spring into action quickly. Crews also practiced using special tools. One was a Lyle gun. This gun shot a rope line to a ship. The line was tied to the ship. Then people slid along it to safety. Crews practiced using these tools until their reactions were fast and natural. Sometimes people were taken off boats in a special life ring. Crew members were sometimes called surfmen. Each night and during storms, crews walked along nearby beaches. They scanned the ocean looking for ships in trouble. They listened for the squalling of cries for help. Crews walked day and night. Neither heat nor clammy weather nor snow stopped them. Crew members carried special signals. They used these bright lights to warn ships that they were too close to shore. Great Rescues at Sea, November 25th through 26th, 1888. One snowy, stormy night, Captain Joshua James saw 3 ships in trouble. He and his crew worked all night pulling people to safety. They saved 24 people. While they were saving the last group, they heard bad news. 2 other ships were in trouble. James and his crew were cold, wet, and tired, but they still saved 5 more people. The life-saving crews were heroes to those lost at sea. October 11, 1896. Surfman R.S. Midget discovered boxes, barrels, and other things washing onto the beach. It was 3 a.m. Then he heard a sudden commotion. It was the cries of people in trouble. Their ship was stuck in sand. Waves were crashing onto the beach, but Midget told the ship's crew to jump overboard one at a time. After each jump, Midget snatched the man from the waves and carried him ashore. He saved 10 people this way. August 16, 1918. Fire. The steamship Merlo was burning. The air filled with smoke. Then the ship blew up. Burning oil and pieces of the wreck floated on the water. Just in time, 3 lifeboats had pulled away from the Merlo. 1 lifeboat had turned over. 6 scared men clung to it. Keeper John A. Midget pulled the men into his boats. He then towed the other 2 boats to safety. A new age begins. The life-saving service worked well. In just over 40 years, it helped ships in danger more than 28,000 times. The service saved the lives of almost 175,000 people. However, travel was changing. People were traveling less on sailing ships. Instead, more were traveling on ships powered by motors. Such ships were safer during storms. The change in ships affected the needs of sailors and passengers. Although the crews in the life-saving service were growing older, not many young men wanted to take their place. The work was dangerous and the pay was low. If crew members got hurt, there was no money available to help their families. How could the life-saving service continue? There was another service that helped people in trouble at sea. It was the Coast Guard. It is even older than the life-saving service. It makes sure laws are followed at sea as well as on land. It made sense to have the two services work together. Life-saving service stations were often located near lighthouses. The Coast Guard works hard to keep people safe. In 1915, the life-saving service became part of the Coast Guard. Today, the Coast Guard has many jobs. It protects our shores and the waters near them. It inspects boats and tools to make sure they are safe. The Guard still rescues people at sea. The job of the Coast Guard is bigger than that of the old life-saving service. Still, the men and women of the Coast Guard honor those old crews. They respect their courage and skill. Like them, the Coast Guard works hard to save lives on shore and at sea. Responding. Target vocabulary. Word builder. What other words mean clammy? Make a word web around the word clammy. Copy the chart and add more words. Write about it. Text to text. The lifesavers often had to bundle up on cold nights and brave the clammy water. Write a short paragraph about a rescue. Use words from the chart in your description of the rescue. Target skill. Annoyance. Bundle. Clammy. Commotion. Critical. Demolished. Elite. Realization. Secured. Squalling. Target strategy. Infer, predict. Use text clues to figure out what isn't directly stated by the author. Word teaser. This is a boring muffin.